Hello, warriors. Thank you for tuning in to the Invisible Diaries, where we shed light on invisible and chronic illnesses through community support, education, and advocacy. Welcome to episode 11. We are your hosts. I'm Misty.
And I'm Amber.
And today we are talking all about the importance of self-care. Why self-care isn't selfish.
Absolutely. Also,
as always. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you're.
Oh, this is classic us. As always, a quick disclaimer. Anything mentioned in today's episode is strictly for informational purposes only and not meant to treat, diagnose, or cure disease.
Also, we know battling chronic illness can be difficult. So if you find that you or a loved one are in need of someone to talk to, please reach out to a trusted resource. Or if you're in the US, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, that number is 1-800-273-8255.
Awesome.
All right. Yay. We're off to
I
a
love
great
this topic. That's what I love about us. Anybody who is just tuning into us, or this is like the first one, like this is just us. This is how we are.
Look, we operate with spoony brain, which means brain fog half the time, and we roll with it because that's how we roll. Yep. So today we're talking about self-care because it is a huge passion of both of ours, because I think, and I don't want to just put women in this category, but I think that a lot of people feel really guilty when they take time for themselves. I think that as parents, whether you're male or female, you're used to putting other people first. I think that you're going to hear my dog clacking around in the background. I hear him.
It's okay. My cats will probably join.
I love our animals. But I feel like a lot of people think that self-care is selfish. And, we've posted stuff on our Instagram about needing to fill your cup first. And I want to talk about, what self-care is, because I think a lot of people get confused about what it is. So it's
Amen.
not just, it's not just, it's very complex. So anyway, I pulled up the dictionary out of the definition out of the dictionary, and I liked both because this one's out of Oxford. And the first one says the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. And then the other one says the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. And what I liked about both of those definitions is that the first one talks about action, taking action, and the second one talks about taking an active role. And so both of those talk about, doing something. And so I think where people get caught up, and especially people that are suffering with chronic illness, is that you don't always have extra energy. Mm-hmm. So it's really narrowing down where those areas are important, like to you. So I have some non-negotiable things, like my creative time is one of them. And so I think, when I was researching and kind of just, I kind of build my own little self-care list. So when my brain's not working, and I'm like, I need to do something for myself, and I don't know what to do, and I don't really feel like expending a bunch of power. I actually have a list in my journal that's just like I can go to, whether it's make a cup of tea, and it just kind of ignites my brain to be like, oh yeah, something simple, doesn't have to be something massive, just something small that makes me pause and like take a break. But there's a website, habitsforwellbeing.com, and they have a great list because they break it down into 8 areas. And so what I love about it is that it breaks it into physical, psychological, emotional, social, financial, spiritual, environmental, and professional. And I was looking at the list because, I was like, oh man, like that's way more elaborate than I ever really thought about. But what's awesome is that by breaking it down, you can kind of pick, because not everybody likes the same things. So like for physical self-care, they talk about, it involves movement of the body and health and nutrition, making sure you're getting enough rest. And then, breaking it down even further into, eating nourishing foods or taking an Epsom salt bath, or, something simple, walking on the beach. Misty and I both live near the beach. So sometimes it's nice to just kind of, when it's cooler, take a moment, walk on the beach and just kind of reset. Doesn't have to be an all day thing. Psychological, they talk about, really practicing mindfulness, journaling, coloring, things that don't really require a lot of energy, doing digital detox, which we're going to definitely do an episode on.
Oh yeah. That was actually, because today's my birthday and I just posted
Yay.
like my goals for this year.
Yeah.
And one of them was like less social media, which is kind of like ironic, or not ironic, but like a hypocritical considering I was posting this on social media. But
no, because the importance
I'm on there
of being
way
able
too much.
Yeah, and the whole beautiful thing about social media is that you can check in when you want and check out when you don't want. You don't have to be on it all the time.
I feel like for me, I hate admitting this, but like I'm on it all the time. And right. Apple now shows you your screen time, which I will not admit to anybody. I will take that to my grave. And I hate that number. So I really want to just try to like implement maybe 2 times a day, like maybe something in the morning or afternoon, and then maybe like in the evening for like a small amount of time where I go on and I can indulge in the social media world. But it's almost like habitual. And so I really want to kind of retrain my brain. I feel like self-care too. A lot of self-care is retraining your brain and trying to, because we're all, especially, as being mothers or women or caretakers too, I feel like self-care has always been on the back burner because, part of our title for this episode is, and why it's not selfish. Because I know for me personally, I like having young children and being with an ex who hopefully will never listen to this. Like I used to get a lot of shit because I would be in bed a lot, and whether it was depression or just not feeling well. And this is way before I had any diagnosis. No idea I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I definitely had heart issues and all of that, but I had no official diagnosis of what was going on. And so I definitely have always had like chronic fatigue, my whole life. And so I would get major crap from him and his family, like, oh, you don't do much with the kids, and, you're in bed all the time. And it's like, it really made me feel horrible as a mother. And, one of the things I think I did was for many, many years, probably like a decade, is just like, you know what? I don't care how horrible I feel. I just would light the candle at both ends, spread myself thin, and to do everything I needed to do to be more awake and more active and whatever, which is, great. And a lot of us do that and all, but at the end of the day, that wasn't quality,
Right. And you're robbing those energy stores from the next day,
right,
or the day after.
It's like the whole thing, quantity or quality over quantity. And that's kind of what it was. It was like I was like a zombie, out of it, in pain. I wasn't mentally there. I was physically there. And like going back, it's like these are like precious moments and times with my kids that I feel like I wish I could redo and took better care of myself, so that, when I was being a mother and they weren't in school and they needed me more of my attention, that I could have had more energy to focus on that,
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. It's one of the reasons why I keep a habit tracker in my journal, because a lot of times, and I track things like shower, I track things like brushing my teeth, washing my hair, because when I'm in a flare, like, forget it. I'll be like, I don't even know the last time I showered. And I know that sounds like gross, and I am a very clean person. I don't want it to be like,
no, in the chronic illness community world, like, that's not gross at all. That's a norm.
Well, and it's like, I mean, especially like if it's a week, I'm not leaving my house, I'm not sweating, I'm in 70-degree temperature. Like, I mean, I'm definitely taking care of myself and staying clean, but I'm not, to take a full shower and to wash my hair. And
that's what those baby wipes are for.
Girl, I'm telling you. And I have curly hair,
freshen
so like
up.
you can tell when I don't feel good, because it's like this. It's in a bun on top of my head. but yeah, I mean, I think, but I mean, I would get to the end of a month because I have a, you know, however many days are in the month, I have that many days mapped out. And I would be like, oh my gosh, like I can really start to see a pattern for when I was not feeling well, or I could start to track when my flares would, you know, like around the time of the month of like my monthly cycle. And so it was interesting because it was kind of like feedback that I could kind of get on myself without having to do
Mm-hmm.
anything other than check a box like, yes, I showered today, or no, I didn't. So that I could really see where I needed to shift my focus, you know, like on days that I did have energy, just to like set it aside and do it. So, you know, that's definitely, I think, falls under both umbrellas of emotional and physical. The next topic that they bring up is social self-care, which I know is really hard for a lot of us because we use social media for that social aspect, because a lot of us, you know, I'll admit right now, like some people require a lot of energy and I don't always have it. so so I, you know, save my energy stores for my family first, um, because my husband and my son come first. But,
Right.
you know, I think it's important to make sure that we're also fulfilling that social aspect, you know, whether it is social media and you're reaching out and you're messaging, or, you know, if you have a support
Mm-hmm.
group that you like to attend, you know, whether you're involved in church or community or whatever it is for you, you know, that gets you out and about when you are feeling better. Because I think it's easy to get stuck in a rut. You know, it's easy to get
Yes.
stuck and be used to just
Isolated
staying
and
inside. Yeah. Which,
yeah.
you know, brings on its own things. Um, Professional is the next one. So it talks about negotiating your needs, having clear professional boundaries, which is a word we love on this platform.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, investing in personal development, things that you can do on your own time. Environmental self-care, meaning your environment, which we've also talked about on this podcast. You know, making sure your space is clear and clean so that you don't feel overwhelmed, and so that your brain can function, you know, well, and your, you know, your body is functioning at its highest capacity. So, you know, you're, and it also, you know, monitoring technology time fits under that. Spiritual
Yeah.
self-care is really important. So whether it's meditating or journaling or volunteering at local organizations, walking in nature, whatever spiritualism is for you, to
Mm-hmm.
nourish that. And then last, financial, which is, you know, making sure that you're able to take the things, you know, automatic payments. So you don't have to think about, oh my gosh, did I pay that bill? Did I did I balance my checkbook, which no one does anymore. But you know, just things that you're not, because it's constantly in the back of your mind. And so if you can just kind of set up things to take off the pressure from you that you can, I think it's really important, you know, and that's all
Yeah.
part of taking care of yourself. It's all part of doing what you need to do so that you can put your focus and energy on things you want to do.
Yeah, and I think that's a good example too, because another thing is that people confuse self-care with like a luxury. They think
Right.
like self-care is going and getting my nails done
Right.
or getting my highlights touched up. That's
Right.
self-care, or soaking in a bubble bath. Like that's far from the truth. I mean, those are examples
It's
of
more,
self-care in a small
yeah.
way because, you know, yes, you're caring for yourself, you're doing something for yourself. Maybe it's more of a mental self-care thing to treat yourself or whatever, but treating yourself and like doing, you know, doing things like that, that's not really the epitome of self-care. You know,
Right. And it,
self-care's a necessity and it should be a priority because, you know, it's, you know, basically giving your body the environment it needs to thrive. So self-care
well, and you,
might be going to bed earlier one night or
right.
canceling plans, you know, so you can catch up on sleep, or read that book
Absolutely.
and just like let your mind, you know, wander and calm down. You know,
Absolutely.
there's so much more to it than I think what modern day people, the way they view it now.
Well, and we forget, I think, you know, a lot of times we, you know, we treat children so carefully. We make sure that they have a bedtime, which we've also talked about, you know, having a bedtime routine and a morning routine so that they're off to a good, you know, and you make sure with your children, um, you know, and for those of you that aren't parents, you can think about your own childhood and ideally what you would like to happen to have a healthy childhood, because not everybody has that kind of healthy support system. But you know, you make sure that they're getting enough sleep. You make sure that they're eating the right things so that they can start their day on a really great note. you're taking decisions away so there's no stress, like laying out your clothes the night before, packing favorite snacks so there's no meltdown the next day. It's just things that you can do that just eliminate some of those decision making things that you have to do day to day, that help the day run smoother. It helps when you're maybe not functioning on as many spoons or energy reserves as normal. So it's just stuff that's taken care of. And that, I think, investing in yourself in that way is one of the most selfless things that you can do. So
yeah. I used to think, as far as like career wise, this is before my health kind of got at its worst. I used to feel that, like, as busy as I was, that meant I was just so successful and like I was on fire. So, I mean, I would work all day and running around with the kids, and it literally, like, I had no time for myself. And if I did, it wasn't like healthy time. It was just like me just trying to, I don't even know. But it wasn't a healthy lifestyle at all. Like, I was burning the candle at both ends. And again, to me, I thought, like, this just means I'm so successful because I'm just so busy. And then, my health caught up with me, of course, and basically shut my body down and all of that to a screeching halt. And it was then I was able to kind of realize, like, that was not a successful time. I was killing myself, really. And I think it's kind of made me reevaluate what successful is. So, like, now for me, success is, feeling, I don't even know what I'm looking for right now. Just basically just feeling balance. That's
Yep.
what it is. To me, balance is success, because you're able to, live comfortably or do the things that you're wanting to do without feeling just like you're drowning, trying to keep your head above water. And so, like, I see it all the time now, like, especially on social media, or people I know, they're just like, they're so busy, they're too busy, they don't have time for all of this. And to me, when I see that, I just think, like, oh man, they're hustling and it's great and they're on fire, but at the end of the day, like, you're gonna crash and burn so hard, because you do need to make that time for the important people in your life. Like, I didn't do that for a while. There's a time in my life where the important people that matter in my life, I put aside because, I wanted to go with my career, and I didn't drink water hardly at all. Like, I wouldn't even take bathroom breaks. I don't even know how. It's like, it's a no wonder that I crashed and burned so hard. So, that's another thing to consider. I feel too, is that, really life is all about balance. Even if you think about, like, our body, we want our body to be in homeostasis. We want our life to be in homeostasis too.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And there's a difference between finding balance and the act of balancing, because I think a lot of what we do now is a balancing act. You're trying to juggle too many things. Whereas this, actually, you're carving out specific time and specific actions that are intentional, which is something that I'm working on. There's a lot of things I do going through the motion, but self-care is about intentional choices that serve you and serve others. So it's, that's a big leap from what we've been brought up to do, which is everybody else first.
Yes. And even if you think about it, when you're on the airplane, and they tell you, like, if you have children or whoever that, or you're a caretaker or whatever the situation is, they're like, put your oxygen mask on first before you help others.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's just like you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
And there's just so many things. Hi, doggy.
She's apparently
Drinking
really
some
thirsty
water
right at this moment.
I love it.
Because it's 90 degrees here in Florida still.
Oh gosh. Ugh. But yeah, I mean, self-care, I feel like, is different from everyone, and I feel like it's something that's going to also evolve as your life moves on, and whatever point you are in your life, it's going to change. But yeah, it's something that I feel like has always been a little misunderstood, and hopefully we kind of help to give a different or a new perspective on self-care and the importance of it, and why it's not selfish. And again, I like I said before, I wish more than anything that I could have gone back and taken better care of myself as a young mother. I feel like I could have done better, but at least now as I have teenagers, I've learned that, and it's a good time to be a mother to teens.
I was gonna say it's a great time because you're teaching them tools that they'll be able to carry into adulthood.
Exactly.
For sure.
Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, just that I'm gonna put a link to that website so that if you guys want to see their breakdown from because it's done really well, and to redo it just would seem silly. So because they have a lot of great suggestions. So we'll go ahead and we'll have that link in our podcast notes, in our episode notes.
Awesome.
And then you guys can check out their site so that you can, sit down and make your own list.
I love it. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to episode 11. Our next episode coming up will be about traveling with chronic illness, or Spoonie Travels, and that'll be episode 12. And if you ever have any suggestions, feel free to reach out to us, or maybe you are a health advocate for, something that we haven't discussed yet. And, we are definitely looking for guests to be on our show. And I think that's it for now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can find us on Instagram at the Invisible Diaries. We're almost at 10,000.
Yay!
Which means we'll have to be doing another giveaway, so stay tuned for that.
Absolutely. Bye, guys. Awesome. Have a great week.
Bye.